What extremely rare thing did you witness in person? I saw a wheel come loose off a van as it attempted a right-hand turn. The wheel rolled through traffic into the open bay of a tire store across the street. 1 in a million odds. I was on a train and nobody else in the train car saw it happen. Laughing my butt off. Imagine if the tire store tried to sell the tire back to the owner. Well, good news. We just got a delivery with your exact tire and rim. And it's already mounted, so we'll give you a discount. An airborne decapitation. At an air show as a kid 30-ish years ago, they were doing a skydiving trick, where 2 divers spiraled downward. Then 2 planes spiraled around them downward. One of the planes hit a skydiver, killing him. Last air show I ever went to. Holy shit, that's terrifying. In South Africa, thunderstorms are quite common, but they were always the usual sheet or fork lightning. Nothing special. The one time there were these strange looking storm clouds very high up above us, much higher than regular storm thunder clouds, and the lightning was these slow moving bolts. Think of a short laser beam of lightning shooting between these clouds. It was the wackiest thing I ever saw. Was it traveling up and or across? Sounds like it could be spider lightning. When lightning travels up the cloud, it can take a long time because of the distance. Spider lightning link. It wasn't forked lightning, nor were they solid lines of lightning that grew in length. It was literally short bolts shooting between the clouds. Think Star Wars pew pew lasers, but in the form of small individual pieces of lightning shooting slowly from one cloud across to the other. I had another search on Google Images. This is the closest thing I could find to the shape of it. Obviously they were more lightning colored and not the blue in this image link. So just imagine these shooting between the clouds at random intervals. Huge section of cliff falling into the Gallatin River, easily the size of a football field, came down all at once. I saw a chunk fall of a newly built bridge. The Department of Transportation person told me not to worry about it. I saw a grizzly bear and a wolf feed on the same bison carcass at the same time in Yellowstone. Boys' night out. Saw a manta ray leap out of the water and over a family playing in the water just off the coast of South Carolina. It didn't make a sound or as much as a splash. I was pretty young, but remember it as clear as yesterday. One of the most beautiful things I have ever witnessed. Also quite amazing how big those things are. I witnessed my buddy hit a hole-in-one on a par 4. Dude had never played golf minus frequent driving range visits and was having a horrific day before it. Flying to Reno back in the 90s, there was this awesome comet that turned out to have a bigger display than people predicted. I forget which comet it was. Winter of 96 or 97. Anyway, looked out the window. Clear sky, full moon lighting up the mountains, and this big ass comet hanging below the moon. It was awesome. Hale-Bopp comet probably. I remember seeing it and it was awesome. Also famous for being the inspiration for the Heaven's Gate cult mass suicide. I remember that comet. I was in grade school, coming home at night in the suburbs and seeing it hanging just below the moon in the sky. Amazing. Saw 2 turtle doves fly into each other head on. They were probably distracted by the partridge in the pear tree. 1996 Maldives. I'm sat in the bar, alone drinking a cocktail and enjoying the view over the flat calm lagoon. The bar juts out into the lagoon, so it is surrounded by water apart from a little bit joining it to the island. Suddenly a small fish jumps out of the water, then it jumps again but higher, and then a third time a little higher still. It takes the 4th jump at about 90 degrees to the other 3, and then a duck off big fish with teeth and everything jumps out of the water and catches it in the air. Then the lagoon went back to flat calm. Edit a couple of suggestions that the duck off big fish was a barracuda. I have looked up barracudas and I reckon the suggestion's right. That's cool. I'm glad I posted. Thank you. There's always a bigger fish. I saw a fish fall out of the sky during a particularly rainy day, hit the ground, and got swept into the gutter. I found a fish in my front yard, miles and miles from water. Found a seahorse on a sidewalk once. Probably birds. I doubt they confused a seahorse with a bird. I saw a bird shit directly into a woman's mouth once, when we were about 7. I watched my buddy look up during recess at school only for a seagull to shit directly into his eye. He just looked at me and then ran away crying to the nurse. He just looked at me. He gave you the stink eye. Southbound along a French motorway during a full moon. As I drove further south, the moon gradually segued from blood red to reddish copper to pale gold. So beautiful. I have never seen it before or since, and it will live in my memory as a perfect experience. I saw someone take off their cap and stamp on it, like they do in cartoons. I saw a guy kick the shit out of his car because he was broken down on the side of the road. As I drove by, he kicked the car and then hopped around in a big circle on the other foot as he held onto the foot he'd probably just broken. I saw Niagara Falls mostly frozen over in February 2015. It was eerily quiet. I watched a small, unmanned boat go over Niagara Falls the only time I've ever been there. When the news reported it later, they said it had broken free of its mooring and floated down to the falls. Did the boat survive? Not as a boat. July 2011. I say to my wife the International Space Station is going over tonight. It's a clear sky, and we agree to pop out to the country where there is less light pollution and take the kids who are 12 and 8. We park in a field gate and the youngest boy sees it first. We watch and it goes overhead and then splits in two. We watch it. I'm thinking, has it broken up or something? The two parts slowly move apart. We are puzzled. I drive home and thinking any disaster would be on the news. So I watch that. Turns out, the final shuttle mission had just been completed and we had watched Shuttle Atlantis depart the ice for the final time. Now that's crazy cool. Back in the 1980s, I was on a plane and saw the space shuttle being carried piggyback on another plane. I saw a shuttle launch from Canaveral in the early 90s from my grandparents' front yard. Maybe not as big of a deal nowadays with all the launches going on, but it blew my mind and instantly got me into space related things. I was there when the German crews were tearing down the last part of the Berlin Wall that was to be removed. It was the double wall section near the Depalusing area. We followed along and busted some chunks off and picked up pieces to take home. I saw someone drive off with the nozzle from the gas pump. It triggered the fire suppression system and everything looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man exploded. When I was 16 or 17, I had just finished filling my tank and got in my car and was slowly pulling away when I saw the gas station attendant sprinting at my car. I kept slowly advancing while wondering WTF he was doing. He full on sprinted and yanked the nozzle out of my gas tank. I had no idea, but even to this day I think, what a hero. Saved my dumbass from embarrassment and saved his gas pump too. One time I drove away from a pump with it still in my car, and the pump just fell harmlessly to the ground. I stopped the car and put it back and looked around and nobody saw it. I got lucky. I think most modern gas stations have this quick release system now. I've definitely done it once as well and went to tell the worker and he was like, yeah, no big deal, it happens all the time, and clicked it back on. I worked at a gas station for a year when I was in college. They're designed to just disconnect safely. The problem is that there's just a little bump when it separates, so people might not be aware of what they've just done. Watched a guy pull out onto a major road and drive away with the nozzle and a couple feet of hose attached to his car. Fire rainbows are pretty rare, mostly just drenching a corner of a cloud in colors. One day at an airshow, my dad and I as well as about 50 other people witnessed the most extravagant color show I've ever seen. Fire rainbows were in half the sky. It was the most beautiful natural event I've ever seen. In 1974 I was living in Delray Beach, and I was hanging out at the back door looking out talking to my sister who lived in Illinois. All of a sudden there was a huge ball of fire in the sky, and I told her I thought an airplane had just exploded over the West Palm Beach airport. Later watching the news I learned that it was a meteor that had fallen into Lake Okeechobee. Wow, your voice must carry. It's called Illinois for a reason. I saw the most recent transit of Venus in 2012. I'm in the UK, so we had less than an hour between sunrise and the end of the spectacle. Me and my dad woke up at 4 in the morning, and it was cloudy, but he still took me up to the Brecon Beacons to meet up with my stargazing buddies to try and catch a glimpse. It was wall-to-wall cloud cover, but by an amazing stroke of luck the sun appeared through a crack in the clouds and we were able to see it. I even got photos. Next transit won't be until 2117. So it was truly once in a lifetime. Edit changed bees on beacons to Brecon beacons. Northern lights near my house. It usually doesn't happen that far south. Good lord. What is happening in there? Aurora borealis. Aurora borealis at this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen. Yes. Halley's Comet in 1986. Lots of people saw it, but it is still rare. 11-year-old me took a tent and camped out by a local dam with friends. Clear night and got a great look at it. Edit: if I make it to 87, I'll get the opportunity to see it twice and then I'll revisit this thread with an even rarer occurrence. Edit: 2 corrected spelling of Halley's. This reminds me of a comic I saw. The first panel is Halley's Comet and a small child saying hello Halley's Comet. The second panel is Halley's Comet and an old man saying hello Halley's Comet. The third panel is just Halley's Comet. And that's how I was introduced to existential dread. Ball of lightning. God, that shit is bizarre. I was 14 and I just saw it going down some train tracks. After it disappeared there was this loud boom and I'm not sure if it exploded or made contact with something or someone. I saw this once. I was driving home and a thunder blizzard about 11 at night from work. I saw this bright burning ball shooting across the cornfields about 30 feet in the air. It covered about 3/4 of a mile in just a few seconds. Ended with a large blinding flash and a bang. When I first saw it, I had time to pull over on the side of the road and watch it move across the field. It was spectacular. I was swimming in the Pacific when 4 dolphins swam up to me, danced in circles, and swam between my legs. When they got close again I noticed one of the 4 looked more like a baby orca. That was a bright indigo color with a very tall dorsal fin. It barely looked real. I pet them all, and they swam off to play in the waves. It was the most magical moment of my life. I didn't know this, but dolphins are social and curious as shit. We had a party on a boat, and in my country there's a bunch of dolphins. They legit just watch you and follow you around. It's super strange. They're like people. When I visited Brazil for a study abroad opportunity in college, I remember noticing the same thing about the river dolphins and the Amazon. They'd just follow the canoes we were in, blowing air at us and just following us to see where we were going. We'd see 1 or 2 without fail every day. I miss those guys. My grandfather took me to the hockey game where Buffalo Sabres goalie Clint Malarchuk had his carotid artery cut and his jugular vein partially sliced by an errant hockey skate. He was bleeding out on the ice in front of our eyes. The Sabres trainer, who had been a US Army combat medic in Vietnam, knew to reach in the wound and pinch off the artery to save his life. Actually saw a tree fall in the forest onto the trail ahead of us as we were hiking in a national park. My first trip to Vegas. I was at the roulette wheel. Yeah, I know. Guy walks up to the table and puts something like 500 on green. Turns to me and says green's going to hit. You should bet on it. I don't. The ball drops and hits green. Dude says let it ride. I still don't bet green. Ball drops and it hits green the second time in a row. Guy cashes out and leaves the table. I leave too, but I'm feeling really stupid by then. When I was 8 I saw another 8-year-old follow this older fat dude cross the apartment complex looking for his lost dog. I came up to her and told her that there's something going on with him and that he told another person earlier that he lost his cat and now he's saying he lost his dog, and I told her that we both need to get away from him, but she said that she's going to keep helping him, and I said okay and left. I got on the swing set and watched both of them disappear around the corner of a building. The very next day there was a knock at my apartment door, and it was 2 officers. They were going door to door asking about the disappearance of a little girl, and I told them what I knew. A week later there was caution tape all over her apartment door. She was murdered. I was the very last person to talk to her. Saw a biker gang in Texas putting on sunblock. I can already picture the gang leader responsibly caring for his buffed and bearded men and instructing them to wear their helmet, sunglasses and to apply their sun cream before driving under the blazing Sunday. I was sitting at an outdoor bar and watch a fly buzzing around just drop dead all of a sudden and land next to me. I touched it with my finger to see if it would move a leg or something, but it was 100% dead. One time I saw a grasshopper just keel over and die. Then I realized how rare dying of old age must be in the insect world. Insects basically exist as food for bigger insects and small animals. Come to think of it, it must be crazy not being at the top of the food chain. Wouldn't recommend. I saw a woman slip on a banana peel. As a child I was so positive that was some cartoon stuff, but I clearly never had the opportunity to see if it was real until one day at recess. We were all walking to the field where we went for recess, and on the concrete path was a discarded banana peel. Why was it there? Who knows? But on this day, I decided to say nothing and stand off to the side of the path and watch as the rest of the kids came running to the field. Poor Samantha's. She got one foot on that thing mid-run and it's like friction ceased to exist. Couldn't believe it. To this day, I'm sorry Samantha's for not warning you about the banana peel, but your fall was in the service of science. Saw Bud Dwyer, a Philly politician, kill himself live on the noon news. I was wondering why he had a paper lunch bag on the podium with him, and then he pulled a gun out of it and shot himself in the head. I saw a mountain lion when I was 5 walking through my grandma's backyard. She lives in Connecticut and supposedly they were considered extinct in that area in the 90s. This was in the Nanites, by the way. My older cousin was teaching me and my younger cousin how to play poker. My younger cousin had 4 out of 5 cards for a royal straight flush. My older cousin told him not to draw more cards because the chances of getting a royal straight flush was pretty much impossible, and was imploring him not to do it. My younger cousin did it anyways and got a ducking royal straight flush. We all lost our minds and laugh about it 15 years later as adults. The odds of this are 1 in 2.5 million.